So, let's talk about a truly massive ambition. By the year 2047, India is planning to undergo a radical transformation. The end goal? To build a nation that no longer depends on other countries for the absolute essentials that fuel its growth. We're talking about a huge strategic pivot here, all about achieving true self-reliance. And we're going to break down exactly how they plan to do it.
And you know, that entire journey really starts from the ground up. This quote from a key government official just gets right to the heart of it. See, before you can build some high-tech superpower, you've got to make sure you can feed your people. That's why transforming India's massive agriculture sector isn't just part of the plan, it's the very foundation for everything else.
Now, the official name for this national mission is Atmanirbharta, and that translates to self-reliance. But this isn't just some political slogan, it's the central pillar of the Viksit Bharat 2047 vision. Think of it as the blueprint for turning India into a developed, resilient economic power by its 100th anniversary.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to expose the two huge dependencies that are kind of holding India back right now. Then, we'll dive into the two big solutions being rolled out: a massive turnaround in the fertilizer industry and a nationwide quest for critical minerals. And finally, we'll connect all the dots to see how this is all supposed to build India's future.
Okay, so to really get India's plan for the future, we first need to look at the two massive chains holding it back today. We're talking about two critical import dependencies that create some huge economic and strategic risks.
The first dependency is a really familiar one: fertilizers. I mean, to feed over 1 billion people, keeping the soil productive is completely non-negotiable. But for decades, this has come at a staggering cost, and these next few slides are going to show you just how high that price really is.
Just get a load of this number. We're talking about almost 33 million tons of fertilizer being used on Indian farms every single year. That is an almost unimaginable amount, and you can bet it creates a huge economic burden.
And yep, all that fertilizer comes with an absolutely astronomical price tag. To keep it affordable for farmers, the government shells out over $20 billion a year on subsidies. That is a massive drain on the national budget and, of course, on the country's foreign currency reserves.
Now, this is the hidden vulnerability. You might think, okay, India produces a lot of its own urea fertilizer, so that's a solution, right? Well, not so fast. Look closer. A staggering 80% of the natural gas you need to make that fertilizer is imported. So even the domestic production is completely at the mercy of volatile global energy markets.
So, this dependency is all about feeding the nation today. But what about powering the nation of tomorrow? The challenge isn't just in our soil, it's also in our silicon.
And this right here illustrates perfectly the two fronts of India's battle for self-reliance. On one side, you have that old dependency on imported fertilizers like phosphorus and potassium just to secure the food supply. And on the other, you have this new dependency on imported critical minerals. We're talking lithium, cobalt, to power everything from electric vehicles to the entire defense sector.
So how is India going to solve this? Well, first up is the fertilizer turnaround. And let me tell you, this isn't just about small policy tweaks. It's a full-blown green tech revolution aimed right at the soil.
The strategy is actually a pretty fascinating blend of old and new. On one hand, they're deploying some serious high-tech tools like AI and drones for precision farming, but on the other, they're reviving traditional wisdom with organic manure and these waste-to-wealth programs. And what ties it all together? A critical policy shift, changing subsidies to reward farmers for using fertilizer efficiently, not just for using more of it.
So here's the bottom line: a tangible, really ambitious goal. The mission is to replace 1/4 of all chemical fertilizer use with organic sources in just 3 years. I mean, if they can pull this off, it would dramatically cut import bills and improve soil health across the entire country.
So, with a plan for the soil in place, let's turn to that second great dependency: technology. To power its future, India is launching what you can only really describe as a national treasure hunt for the essential raw materials of the 21st century.
So what exactly are we talking about here? Well, critical minerals are elements like lithium, tungsten, and rare earths. They are the absolute, indispensable building blocks for our modern world. They're in your phone, they're in electric car batteries, and they're in our most advanced defense systems.
So, how do you kickstart a national treasure hunt? Well, the government's answer is a massive e-auction initiative. Basically, they're opening up huge chunks of land, these so-called mineral blocks, for exploration and inviting private companies to bring in the investment and the tech needed to find and pull out these valuable resources.
And guess what?
This whole initiative is already hitting pay dirt. In the state of Rajasthan, some major discoveries have been made. In just one region, Degana, they've found significant deposits of lithium, the key ingredient for EV batteries, and tungsten, which is vital for defense. Then in another area called Kaludi, they're finding rare earth elements for electronics. This is a potential game changer for India's domestic manufacturing dreams.
But the strategy is much smarter than just digging new mines. It's really a four-part plan that's both global and local. Of course, they're exploring at home, but they're also building international partnerships with mineral-rich countries like Australia and Argentina to secure those foreign supply lines. They're also exploring really innovative ideas like urban mining, literally extracting valuable minerals from mountains of old electronic waste. And they're backing it all up with smart policies to make the whole system click.
Okay, so we've seen the two big problems and the two ambitious solutions. Let's now connect the dots and see what the real payoff of this major strategic pivot is supposed to be.
You see, tackling these two dependencies directly strengthens the core pillars of the entire nation. Solving the fertilizer problem, that ensures food security. Winning the mineral quest, that delivers technological sovereignty. And achieving both of those things, well, that builds immense economic strength by cutting import bills and boosting domestic industry.
When you put it all together, what you're seeing is a fundamental economic shift in action. India is trying to transform itself from a nation that imports basic things like fertilizers to one that produces the advanced materials that are going to power the future. This isn't just an economic change, it's a move that could redefine the country's entire place in the world.
And that really is the ultimate goal here, isn't it? This is about so much more than just swapping out some imports. It's about building the domestic capacity, the technology, and the economic muscle to achieve that ambitious vision of a developed India by 2047.
So India has a plan. It's finding the resources, the treasure really, within its own borders to power its ambitions. The real question that remains is one of speed and execution. In this fiercely competitive world, can India's strategic pivot happen fast enough to secure its place as a leader in the 21st century?